Today I'm going to remove and replace the alternator in my 1997 Toyota Camry. The first symptom that I saw that indicated I needed another alternator was the battery light on the console was lit up. So I took it to my AutoZone and they, for free, tested the electrical system. The battery has to be charged when it's tested, so I had to charge it at home to get it fully charged after having run it down a little ways with a bad alternator. So make sure your battery's charged, and then find a parts dealer that will test it for free, and you can get your alternator tested to make sure you're replacing the right part in your electrical system. The alternator in a 97 Camry is on the left as you face the engine, right here on the front side of the engine. You can see it's kind of buried down in there, but not too deep. The air conditioner hose will just push to the side as we pull it out. We've got a few bolts in there. You can't see them on the video, but there's one right down here that's got to come out that the whole alternator swivels on, and then there's one underneath there that you can't see. So we'll start removing it. But before we take it out, let's make sure that our replacement is the same. So here's my new alternator, and I'm just going to hold it up next to the old one here. Make sure that it looks the same. I have these two connectors, the lug bolt and the plug-in connector. You can see those are there on the back of the alternator. The pulley is a multiple spline pulley, just like the one on the car. So this looks like the right one. First, just for safety, since I'm working on the electrical system, I will just take the negative terminal off of the battery, just to make sure that I don't ground out anything while I'm working on the alternator. So next I'm going to remove this electrical connector from this lug. It has a little cap on it that you have to pop off. Just pop that back, and it's a 10mm nut on there, so just take that off. Okay, so I've got this one loose, and then there's a electrical plug connector here that has a rubber boot around it. Take the rubber boot back so you can see what you're doing. There's a tab on the top of here that you push in. Yeah, you push that in and that pops out the little flap to get the connector free. And then you just pull it straight off, okay? So there it is. Now I want to loosen the tensioning bolt, which is this one right here. We're looking from the front of the car here. There's the alternator right there. And then down underneath it is the tensioning bolt. So we're just going to loosen this one, and then when we get it loosened, then we can, actually we should probably loosen this other bolt first, the one below here. You can't see it, but it's to the left of the tensioning bolt and underneath. So we're going to loosen that first to get it free, and then we'll loosen the tensioning bolt to loosen the belt. So to be able to get to that bolt down there, this wire bundle here needs to be moved out of the way. So I unclasp this cable clamp here, and there's another one. There's a gray one over here. You can see it's open. Also, it was already open. So I'm just going to open both of those, and then I can push the cable all the way back out of the way so that I can get to that bolt down there. To give a little more access, I'm going to take off this relay fuse box also. It's got two bolts right here and here. So we'll just get those out. So I pulled that relay fuse box out and wedged it over here between the windshield washer filler and the pressure manifold. So you could just pull it out of the way. It just has this harness holding it now. You just pull it out of the way and wedge it over there. Now we have all kinds of room to work on our alternator there. Now that I've got the bolt loose right here, I'm going to release the tension bolt. So before taking the whole thing out, I just have these two loose. I'll go ahead and loosen this one other bolt that's holding it on. And And this last bolt is a 14 millimeter. So we'll continue to loosen up the tension bolt until the belt is... Okay, so we just check the belt here and it's pretty loose, so we just slide the belt off and just let it sit there. And we still got this bolt underneath to get out. But all the bolts are out. We can just take the alternator out. It's a little tough getting it off of this particular fitting right here, so you might have to pry it or pull a little bit. Be careful because there's not much room, and I pinched my finger pulling mine out. And then the alternator will just come right out. Again, just making sure that they're the same, and by all appearances they're identical. The one cable clamp is bolted to the old alternator, so I'm going to have to take that off. There's one little nut right there, and I've sprayed some brake free on there to get it loose. It's a little bit corroded. So I'll take this off of here, put it on the new one, and then I can clamp my cables down. It turns out the best way to get at this nut is with a combo wrench, because this part right here is in the way of a socket wrench, so you can get your combo right in there and get it right on the nut. This is the tensioning bolt right here assembly. There's a little block that holds your the bolt that's going to screw into the alternator. See this channel along this bracket here. So your screw is going to go through there and into the base of your alternator, which is threaded. So this will just thread right into your alternator. Once you get the screw started, then you can use the tensioning bolt here to tension the belt. As you tighten it, it pulls from this plate, it pulls this block up and pulls the whole alternator tight. Okay, so you don't tighten this bolt, and you don't tighten the bolt that goes in this hole until you've got it tensioned. But you run them all the way down, not quite tight, and then you tension it, and then you can, once you got it tensioned like you want, you can tighten this bolt and the bolt that goes in this hole. Okay, this is the hole left by the old alternator. So to put the new one in, we'll just push this air conditioner hose out of the way a little bit and put the new one in. The double bracket goes over this fixture up top, and then this is going to go on the tensioning bolt down below. We'll just push the hose out of the way, put it down in there. And you can just set it in there and get your bolts. So we have this long bolt here that's going to go into the back top bracket. Just get it started good. This is the tensioning bolt again. So we'll slide out the bolt in the block that I showed you earlier, and make sure that it's in the slot in the bracket, and then you can just pick up the alternator until the bolt drops in the hole, and then get it started threading. And then once you've got that started, then we can run the tensioning down. Okay, you can see it's tensioning up. Now, important, before you tension the belt, you probably should put it on. So get it around those three pulleys, and you can just pick up the alternator just to make sure you want that belt to be on the right track. So check all the pulleys with your fingers, feel it, make sure it's not up on the edge of the pulley or anything. And then we can tighten the tension. As you can see while I'm tightening this, it's a little bit wobbly, so we probably want to go ahead and run down our bolts a little bit better, or the bolts that are going to hold it in. And the top one, I'll run that down a little bit more. Okay, but not too tight. Now we can put the tension on the belt. So you can just feel the belt around the pulley and just wrap your hand around it, and as long as you feel deflection. Okay, now it's starting to get harder to deflect. What I do is I put my finger in the middle of the belt And if I can deflect it by pushing firmly a 1/2 inch, then I'm saying it's tight. I'm sure there's a more technical way to do that, but that's how I do it. So I'm going to say that's good. Now I can tighten down my 2 bolts that are holding it in. This is just an air ratchet. Do not use an impact wrench or you'll strip it out for sure. Okay, I've got the bottom one tight. Tighten up the top one. Okay, that's good and tight. The belt's good and tight. Now we can connect the electrical connectors again. Okay, you can see the lug on the back here. It comes with a nut. If it doesn't, hopefully you saved yours off of the other alternator. And then we're going to we're just going to place that on there like that. And it has little tabs. The lug has, the connector has these little tabs sticking down. Those tabs will stick down into the holes in the plastic clip-on thing around the lug. And then put the nut on. As you tighten it down, make sure these tabs are in the holes there that are made for them. Okay, and that's a 10 millimeter. So we're just going to tighten that down, hand tight. And then the other connection is this plug right here. You can see it. And there's the plug, and just make sure that you've got it oriented right. Okay, and you hear that snap there. That's this little connector here is snapping in place. There's a little tab there that it snaps. And then we've got this boot to put on. So just slide this rubber boot down over it. This is the plastic cap that goes on the lug. So we just get it on the cable first. It has a little thing that snaps on, and then just snap it right on there, okay? And then jiggle it, make sure it's on there good. Okay, and we have our connector. Need to get the boot on it, and then I'll be ready to test it. Here's what it looks like connected. We've got our lug connection with the plastic cap, and then we've got our plug connection here with the rubber boot slid down over the connector. So that's ready to check out. Alright, before we test, of course, we got to put the battery back together, so we'll just put the negative terminal back on and tighten it. So we'll crank up the car and see what happens. No battery light, no lights on the dash, so we'll call that victory. Just a little straightening up left to do. We had to put back our relay fuse box where it came from and tighten these bolts. And then also we have these cable clamps here, this one here that needs to be reattached. So I'll just close that. These are getting pretty old, so they may not hold, but and then there's another gray clamp under here that you can put on or not. It's not super important. Make sure your belt is tight like you want it right there, and you're good to go. Thanks for watching.